You know, Worlds 2022 has had a plethora of storylines, whether it be the West's utter failure to compete with the East, Rogue being the last hope of the West in quarterfinals, only to be swiftly 3-0'd by JDG, or even wildcard regions causing some serious upsets, in particular the GAM vs TES game, which may go down as one of the best of ones on the international stage. However, no story has been more inspiring to the masses than the story of DRX's miracle run at Worlds this year. DRX started as the 4th seed from the LCK in the play-in stage after a rather lackluster summer playoff finish, losing to Live Sandbox, and clawing their way to the play-in stage through the qualifier. It really is a Cinderella story as to how this team managed to cast aside all expectations and pick'ems, and impress the world with their fantastic play as well as win the hearts of League players everywhere. And while I could very easily tell you a story about DRX's most important player, Deft, who was one of the greatest without a trophy and one who has limited time to leave his mark on the scene, I think there's somebody whose story is much more important, considering that this is his first year at Worlds and he was the difference maker for his team through the whole tournament. That person being Zeka.
Into mid lane. Give it up for Zeka! To retain. Young Gunners in beast mode, K9T show, cheat code, playing with unlimited free throws, playing their feet, move faster than a caprice stroke, when they run in the strip like the women in peep shows, pay the price, gamble with your life like Pete Rose, bust a move, paper bubble like Rube Clicos, who got the streets of Philly flooded like Puerto Rico.
Not that much is known about Zeka before his time on DRX. What we do know is that Zeka was born Kim Gunwoo on November 28, 2002 in South Korea. As a child, Zeka was considered outgoing and very competitive. His start in video gaming in general starts with his own mom never really putting pressure on him academically, and according to Zeka, he just played games until he eventually got good. In fact, he got so good that this talent of his eventually caught the attention of KT Academy, and in May of 2019, he started out on KT Academy with the name Dean. This small era of his history is relatively lost because there isn't much footage from KT Academy's 2019 season. However, on December 17th of 2019, Dean changed his name to Zeka and joined Vici Gaming in the LPL. Considering that the 2020 season of the LPL was his first big break as a mid laner on the pro level, his performance had some ups and downs. In his debut match, he faced off against Rookie on IG, a former world champion mid laner. Now, obviously, he got stomped. It's a game that Zeka himself says he wants to forget. And unfortunately, after that game, the rest of the season was relatively lackluster for him. He managed to have a few impressive plays against some teams, but Vici Gaming ended spring at a meager 9th place and summer at an even worse 11th place. After this rather disappointing season from our up-and-coming mid laner, Zeka found himself on Billy Gaming for the 2021 LPL season. Although he had some more personal successes this year, managing to stand out a little more in his team, and at times holding his ground against mids like Dunby and Cryan, his team still failed to measure up. BLG ended their spring split at 11th place, but they managed to get 6th during summer. This meant that they had a shot at playoffs and maybe even a Worlds run. However, when it came time to face off against Team WE, they were swiftly 3-0'd. The shot at Worlds was struck down, and Zeka would just have to wait for next year's Worlds to make his impact on the pro league scene forever. DRX was Zeka's first break into the real LPL, and in his first series against Live Sandbox, Zeka and DRX lost 0-2. To Zeka and the team, this was a heavy blow to their confidence, but they managed to bring it back for what ended up being a pretty impressive spring split. DRX went 11-7, and they were able to scrounge up a 4th place spot in the round robin, tying up with former world champions Damwon Kia. However, DRX was really unable to hang with teams like Gen.G, Damwon, and T1, so their playoff run looked to be quite the daunting task. The team had yet to get used to each other, and Zeka was still quite inexperienced. During the playoffs, DRX faced Kwangdong Freaks. The Freaks were in a spot below DRX, being 8-10, compared to DRX's 11-7. It was looking like this should be a series of DRX wins easily, however, it was anything but easy. Zeka had polar opposite performances in games 1 and 2 with his Twisted Fate pick, going 1-4-2 and losing in game 1, and 7-2-6 and winning in the second. DRX was 1-1 at this point, and when Game 3 rolled around, it was time for Zeka to play Vhagar. It led to an alright performance, with him going 2-2-1 that game, but he still lost. DRX was now backed into a corner as they were 1-2 to Quandong Freaks, and they were not ready to go home just yet. This is when they locked in one of Zeka's soon-to-be iconic picks, Akali.
Zeka, they're level 6, so has the ability to get on over. As here we go, they're trying to get on top of Lee Sin, and the burst damage is insane from their side, but Depth comes in first. Kenny now finally gonna come on in here. The huge blade caller from Depth, but it's not enough. It is way too aggressive, and Zeka, I mean, he's walking through, and there are some pings onto it. Okay, they know. They know now, is Zeka, yep, that's gonna be the end of Keen, and Teddy now trying to go. Where did he go? Jeez. Down he gets burst, and that might just do it. I mean, DRX will be able to pick up this Baron now for sure with the Infernum, but they're just sieging on it with the Baron, and they're letting the minions do the work. That is the safest way to pull it off, as the ult comes in from Depth. They do fight it front to back, and the Feather Storm is going to be enough. Another fantastic cast does come in here as Kingen is going to shut down the 200 years, and we will be going to a game number 5 in this series, of course, as the prophecy has determined.
Although his Akali pick led them to success, they still had to take this series home versus Quandong Freaks in Game 5. Zeka decided to go Galio, and unfortunately Zeka and DRX went out with a whimper, with Zeka going 1-2-6 on Galio that game. This was the end of DRX's spring split run, and it was extremely disappointing to them and the fans. However, they still had some time to practice and improve for the summer split. Unfortunately, DRX's summer split was a lot worse. They went 9-9 and placed 6th, making them just barely eligible for playoffs. Zeka did have some great performances personally, but he struggled to hammer in the wins against teams like Genji, T1, KT, and Live Sandbox. This is where I sort of have to point out Zeka's biggest weakness as a player. In most games where he's on carry picks, he tends to perform very well. His Akali and his Sylas are beyond clean, and his Azir is extremely scary. However, whenever he's put on these more supportive mid picks that we've seen in spring and summer, like Galio, Swain, Seraphine, Vhagar, Zeka can't really bring it home for his team. Moving away from that aside, playoffs were once again really disappointing from DRX and Zeka. Their first round was against Live Sandbox, a team they were 0-2-2 in the round robin, and it showed that they were just not in the right form to beat them, as they went 1-3 to Live Sandbox. DRX was eliminated, but they still had a chance to make it. They just had to manage to win through the regional qualifier. To say DRX had to fight some demons is a massive understatement. Because of their lackluster placement in playoffs, DRX had to face off against 2 teams that they had struggled against in the entirety of summer. Those teams being KT Rolster and Live Sandbox. Up first was KT Rolster. During the summer split, DRX struggled immensely against this team. In fact, there was one game where DRX couldn't get a single kill against KT. Therefore, it set a really dangerous precedent for DRX going into this series. In Game 1, they had a rocky start. They were a little behind in kills, but towards the end of the game, Zeka and his Sylas took control. After a strong start to the series, which is usually unheard of from this team this year, DRX went into Game 2 with confidence. However, KT knew they couldn't let Zeka Sylas through after the monstrous performance he had the previous game. Instead of banning it, they simply took it from Zeka, and KT managed to take Game 2 considerably quickly from DRX. During Game 3, KT once again prevented Zeka from playing Sylas by banning it, and KT managed to pull a lead in the series, winning Game 3. At this point, DRX had their backs against the wall. One more loss spelled the end of their year, and it also spelled an early end to Zeka's postseason run for the 3rd year in a row. Would Zeka be able to pull it together and help his team close this series out?
Now trying to get out because he secured the Drake. He did his job, and my god, the Swain got so much work done. Russell will be taken down though, and Zeka simply low, but that's exactly. Oh no, the Aatrox is going to get taken. Zeka gets into the backline, aiming down to his GA already. Vikla, he goes golden, but is it going to be enough? The axe is absolutely not, and DRX may have just queued up silver screen. Looks like they may have. Swain value was massive.
It is now Game 5, and Zeka has shown that his Azir is not to be toyed with anymore. KT decided to respond by putting Zeka in a position to pick Swain, a pick that he's not at all consistent on. However, Zeka turned up the gas in Game 5 and showed Korea that he and his team were worthy of continuing their postseason run. After a successful 3-2 win against KT, DRX had another demon of their summer to face, Live Sandbox. Game 1 was a clear-cut win for DRX, as Sandbox had let Zeka's infamous Akali through. To say Zeka made it known that he was not to be trifled with this series is a bit of an understatement. However, Game 2 proved to worry a lot of DRX fans, as DRX was swiftly put in a losing position and they were completely unable to recover. Sandbox managed to deliver a loss to DRX in Game 2, and DRX had to quickly find a way to bounce back. Game 3 only worried fans more, as Zeka was on one of his strongest picks, Silas, and they once again suffered a very quick loss to Sandbox. Once again backed into a corner, DRX had to pull out all the stops to pull themselves back. But once again, DRX managed to show us you just can't count them out.
He's going to get the GA, I suppose, and he does Kingslayer here, but at the end of the day, he does have the GA, he does have a riposte and a dream, he's getting in there, but it's not enough. 5 members of DRX will live and push down the mid lane. And closer, 100 to 0, it even flashes!
So well played! They have 2 threats, they have the Jax and the ult coming through from Juan as he hits 6.
Oh, okay, they're gonna get it 2-dump, trying to deny it, and now Krako on the run, assault and battery still here for Zeka. As he's taking this 1v1, Krako doesn't have flash. He can't get away. The Q is used to get back into the fight. And down goes Stuff. Down goes Krako. Go for it. The Sejuani is now death in the pit. He's being burst down, but he's also going to get a ton of damage. And King in. It's a 3-man counter-strike in the pit, and he's not done yet. Zeka goes down and picks up a kill. They're trying to kill the Soraka again. They're going to get close. The Term does get it, but the ult is off and a massive counter-strike again. Kingen hits 3 of them, and this should be the ending fight. DRX are going to push and go to Worlds as the 4th seed from the LCK.
This was the...
And with that series win, DRX had proven to fans that they were worthy of representing Korea at World Championship. For Zeka, he had finally been able to make it to Worlds after splits and splits of disappointing finishes. Would Zeka be up to the task to perform for his team in not only the biggest tournament of the year, but the first international tournament of his career? Well, it all starts at play-ins. Going into play-ins, DRX were not heavily favored to make it that far. Although they were favorites to make it out of their considerably easy group, many believe that their skill disparity between the other Eastern teams and even some Western teams would spell a quick exit once they made it to groups.
Next team in C tier, DRX. I'm not that much of a DRX enjoyer. They play slow. It just feels like this team has a lot of holes. I mean, they still have good players. Like, don't get me wrong. I mean, I still definitely respect Deft. He always manages to make it to these World Championships. But to me, they just don't have anything that's special about them. I think they're the weakest team significantly coming out of Asia. I didn't even think that they were going to make it to this tournament, to be honest.
However, that sentiment began to change once their play-ins group started. DRX was placed into Group B with teams such as Isurus, Istanbul Wildcats, Mad Lions, Saigon Buffalo, and RNG. Now, RNG were the MSI champions of 2022, and although they had a rather lackluster run to make it to play-ins, they were still favorites to place first in the group. DRX had quite the task to take down RNG and secure that first spot in their group. Zeka most certainly felt the pressure, as he was poised to face off against Xiaohu, one of the best mids out of the LPL in recent years. Would Zeka be able to perform against one of the legends of mid lane and help his team place first in their group? Well, all I have to say is that on day 1 of play-ins in the DRX vs RNG matchup, RNG made the fatal mistake of letting his Akali through.
Now tries to fight out, Queen's counter-strike keeps him alive. The fatal change don't pull him out. 3 for 3. Seth goes golden with a stopwatch. Breeze looking to start, he finds it. He gets the shot down onto death. It's Breeze Jax, the team fight. They're trying to close it out. Landing for another. Zeka's running for his life. 2v1. It was the Jax, but it wasn't in the side lane. It was in the fight.
I honestly cannot believe that RNG were able to bring that back. Wait, you still gotta be careful!
Here comes Breeze, can it another one? 4 versus 4 just of death. Now Breeze gets taken down. Zeka.
Zeka, that's absolutely beautiful on the Akali as well. It looked like a fight that RNG was finally going to take. Steals
of things. Now Breathe doing his best to hold it up, but he's still fighting 5 members off the side of DRX.
Nothing that they can do. DRX and Death dominate.
With RNG taken down by DRX, there was no way that DRX would not place first in Group B, which turned out to remain true as they smurfed on Wildcats, Buffaloes, and ISG. However, you may have noticed that I left out one team. Mad Lions actually managed to give DRX serious issues in their last day of play-ins groups. Mad managed to pull ahead to a generous 6k gold lead, which at the highest level of play is very difficult to come back from. However, Zeka took that gold lead personally and put his head in the game to bring his team back from the brink of a tiebreaker with his classic Silas pick.
Recalls, look, a quick slow into Elyoya, a little bit of poke, soon the fear available for Niski takes some more.
This could be the game deciding
for
factor.
Howling Projectile. The squad is here, Unforgiven is low. Here comes the push on in, and Kingen has to ult to safety for a little bit of time. They shut down Misfortune with the Prowling Projectiles. A dive in for Zeka gets a second, and the health bar is going to be too much now, but these start land. However, Abscond of Duck takes one down, 5-8 and kills the gold lead.
On Zeka's Silas, and here he comes.
Here's the root, here's a whole bunch of damage instantly deleted. He comes out in time to smite it and stay alive for now, but it's going to be dangerous. 1,000 gold shutdown comes through, and it's only 3 for nothing. Unforgiven has to run away. Mordekaiser cuts the wave, but there's no way Misfortune lives. You may have got the Baron, but Zeka took your whole damn team apart as DRX go up and kill. Come in for just as important. Kaiser, do they care? I guess in the back of the turret they'll finally kill him, and the Nexus will drop. DRX gets the comeback win and secure first place.
With this win against Mad, DRX had secured their spot in the group stage. DRX and Zeka had shown that they were in a much better form than they were during the regular season during play-ins, but how far would they manage to get in this new form? Only their group stage showing would tell. DRX was placed in Group C with Rogue, Europe's first seed, Top Esports, China's second seed, and GAM Esports, Vietnam's first seed. At face value, this group should be pretty easy for DRX, as they only have to beat Europe and Vietnam, which are regions that Korea are generally a lot better than. However, this is Worlds, so surprises always end up happening.
How does Yuhan get past this? He's trying to find an angle, but it's already gone time.
Ulti comes down for good measure. Kingen will just simply die. No one's even around him. They restful leave, and it's his 5th death of the game. 15-9. The last one in for Otoamna. Sets them all up. Ulti. It's going to mean absolutely nothing. Caught by the double. Burns the stopwatch. Resurrecting now as Zeka runs away, but no one is left to watch the fall of DRX, who will drop their first game of Worlds. Mad Lions couldn't do it. RNG couldn't do it, but bet your ass Rogue can. They will find their first win of the World Championship, their first time winning the LEC, and so far, 1-0 at Worlds. The Nexus falls and Rogue is on top.
The first team to take down DRX here at Worlds, undefeated through play-ins. Rogue played a beautiful...
Rogue managed to take down DRX with quite the stomp on the first day of the group stage. This loss dealt a heavy blow to DRX's chances of getting out, as DRX was not poised to take down Top Esports, and this loss to Rogue set a precedent that Rogue had good chances this year. The next day, DRX was set to face off against Top Esports. Zeka once again had to face off against another legend of the mid lane, Knight. Knight was renowned in the LPL for his amazing Silas and Akali play, and was generally considered to be one of the best mids from China. But to Zeka, Knight was just another mid laner to completely diff.
By the unbreakable wall, but finally the flashes are committed.
And now Pioshik is here, and Mark is in trouble. Zeka arrives, and he has the soul and ulti. Jackie's gonna go down!
Oh, look at that! Jackie's caught up! DRX win the fight!
There, and Zeka looking for him once more. Everfrost does hit the slow. Barrel's coming over.
Oh my word! Throw everything at Jackie Love! DRX are here to play! Fuck, is caught in the river! He's down! DRX are doing it!
The ocean was so huge in this game, making sure Dracula's famous Draven couldn't take over.
New York City, you will remember the day that DRX struck back against Top Esports!
What a performance from DRX.
After this win, DRX were once again in a good position to get out of groups, and the rest of the group stage went alright. They beat GAMP twice, beat Rogue once, and then secured their exit from groups after Top Esports had a really embarrassing 0-3 start. However, before they beat Rogue, they took a loss from Top Esports. This meant that DRX and Rogue were set to face off in a tiebreaker for seeding in quarters. Whoever lost this had to face off against JDG, the first seed of the LPL and favorites of the tournament. With this in mind, Zeka once again turned it up to 10 for his team.
Getting the money, Kingan's in trouble, they just pop him, they drop him, it's Oruwamne grabbing the kill, but now, what else is gonna happen? DRX, they strike right back!
Looking for picks, and Rogue is giving it to them. DRX are so good at finding these windows of opportunity, and they found it.
Oh, there's the Meganar ulti coming out from Zeka, as Larson stuck in a Hextech ultimatum, and PO shit kills him next. Oruwamne tries to get back with the flashback over the wall, but DRX get 4 more bodies. The target, Kingan, still doing some DPS here in the front line. Zeka goes in, and that time against his man. Pioshik still in hot pursuit, and Kingan has his vengeance to exact. Rogue are ace. The game is over. The tie is broken, and DRX win the group.
Once again placing first in groups, DRX had managed to go from a team that faced an early playoff elimination to a quarterfinals qualifying team. However, the road only got harder for Zeka and DRX. Remember that team that I just mentioned, JDG? Well, Rogue had to face off against them because they lost. But the team that DRX would face off against wasn't much easier. Their first opponents in the elimination bracket were none other than former world champions Edward Gaming. In 2021, EDG managed to scrape a 3-2 win against Damwon Kia to win the world championship, and the roster had not changed at all. The team was chock full of veteran players who should have very easily stomped DRX. Zeka especially had quite the task ahead of him, as he would be facing off against Scout. Scout is a player who dates back to 2015, so he's been around for quite a while. He was considered one of the best mids in the world after EDG's championship in 2021. Zeka would once again have to step up and prove that he could hang with the big guys. However, when the series rolled around, DRX had more than a rough start.
Barrel finds the shot back, kills him, without a single spell cast, in goes Rondre, there's a second, they go over the wall to chase down for Kingan, gets single kill, kick back, but not taken down, staying alive, down to half health, finds a 3-man slow, but JJ on the chase, Q's gonna be sidestep, stays alive, flash in for Viper, nearly dies, but forces DRX to flash away, flash back in, the second gets the kill on the Viper, a chase in, JJ misses with the Scout, is here to finish the job, Shockwave catches one, Mako stays alive, here comes Fiora, finds the kill, the cannon goes back in for 2, and you got a bunch of damage still on a Zeka, stopwatch buys some time, Fiora goes for Rogue, but his ankles are just that, the kick, and it's Scout securing the kill pretty rapidly, so trying to clear out the minions, first turret is down, a stopwatch burn, but that should be a kill every time, right, Death gonna be locked in place, here goes Cannon, the kick back, 2 kills, and Easy gonna take the very first game, the attempt the Nexus does not succeed from DRX, the early game was not enough, but Scout drops, 3 alive, can they kill it in time? JJ gets low, Viper's still hitting, he's got the Guardian Angel, and the Nexus falls, EG.
After game 1, DRX was able to have an easier start in game 2, and Zeka even managed to solo kill Scout 1 time in the game. But then the worst thing you could ever imagine happened to DRX.
They send more, Seth gets the stop, but inside the pit, they're still playing for Baron, it's secured with Death, kills turret number 1, he kills turret number 2, and the Nexus is in his eyes, and he's gonna get the inhibitor! The inhibitor is back out! What? He cannot get the stop, no way! Oh my god, Death, no! The game was in your hands!
An inhibitor lost the game for DRX. After such a devastating loss and an 0-2 deficit to former world champs, one would find it hard to believe that DRX could make any kind of comeback. But once again, Zeka pulled it together and put on one of the most astounding performances from a mid laner the world had ever seen.
And been pushed out. They're still playing in this fight. Fiora keeping in a mid to guarantee the kill. Renata ult gonna land on Fiora, and they're gonna catch a whole lot of damage. Scout has to burn his Zonias. Will the re-engage look good? He's silenced, he is shut down! A huge fight for Def! He gets the auto he needed. Flandre is low, gets to repost it, but it's already Xavier now, but we'll wait till the whole thing falls. King dives in for Scout, cannot find his man just yet, may in fact drop, but they're on the Nexus. Def finally gets the shot! Around the wing, looks for the engage, gets the stun of the W snapback, and Scout is bailed out for just a second. A kickback of the tank might not be nearly enough. Stays alive with a Jeja low, attacked again by King and Flandre. Second place here as well. Bailout not gonna be enough. They've killed off Scout, they've killed off Mako, they'll kill off Viper, they'll kill off everybody, and this Nexus is not gonna be saved. They're gonna take game 4, and DRX bring us to Silver Scream.
Very low.
Oh, goes in! Wants the solo! Oh, are you kidding me? The dive on in, launch by Lana gets the first stun. Nearly a kill and a Scout. Needs to get the shot. Oh! You gotta be freaking kidding me! Find the damage. The rest of the squad dives on in. Scout no longer has the invisibility, but they found the stun and a King. Will it be enough though? In goes Flandre. Buys some time, but it's Pioshik going for everything that he possibly can.
The reset!
The reset, and he's gonna do it all! Yes! Nicolio finds the stun. R2 is it gonna land? A flash! It's early from Scout!
Oh, not again.
Number 4! Goes ulti back up, 4K health, should be a clean smite. Whoa, it's gone! Pioshik gets the Ocean Soul! DRX will be the top laner. They got a summoner spell. Viper attack, stays alive. Double stun. Def will not fall. Zeka will not allow it. Going with the quadra kill in his first ever World Championship. 2,942 days ago, Def won a World Quarterfinal, and today, thanks to Zeka, he does it again.
This reverse sweep really opened up the eyes of a lot of viewers. DRX was not a team to be dismissed any longer. Zeka especially had proven a lot to the world with his win because he managed to solo kill Scout, the former world champions, 4 times in one game. However, they still had a long road to have the chance to win it all, and their next opponents were quite the Titans. The next team that DRX had to face were none other than Gen G. For some context, not only were Gen G the winners of the LCK Summer Split, but they were also favorites to win the whole tournament. Not to mention that DRX was also 0-4 to Gen G in best of 3s for the whole year. Zeka especially had a lot of pressure on him because he was facing off against Chovy, one of the best mid laners in the whole world. Gen G was favored to win this best of 5, and many were saying it would be a swift 3-0 from Gen G. In the simplest terms, Zeka and DRX were facing gods. But what is a god to Zeka?
No flash, this could be a big, the Clans could be getting big damage, the Clans will fall, Ruler, taken out of the fight, but they don't quite have the Derek's advantage, and now instead, turning back to Doran, taking the Ornn out of the equation, the Alt team will hit nobody. Zeka is on the way and he's hunting. He's blocked by the Crux, he couldn't get around the wall there, but he does see the hits, has the flash, has the ult. This time now going to find the lockdown, immediately going to get the reset, now he's the time to get the brother will kill brother. There's a hostile takeover, gets the job done. Ruler taking out Toby's here. Toby will try to strike back, doesn't get the thrown in. Back towards the dragon, ready for the 4v4. Pioshik's having the series of his life right now. Dora and Itchy, Zeka on the lane, I think for Ruler, he gets it. Left and right, and Zeka onto the back line, but for now he's only hitting
keeps years ago, Death fell to his sister team in Samsung White, but today in the face of insurmountable odds, he stands tall. The last dance goes on the stage as it is one final chapter. Here's one more page in the legacy of Death. He has one chance to kill the king, and today he did not.
That's right, DRX managed to win 3-1 to Genji. Zeka especially showed off his skills against Chovy, and the sentiment surrounding the series was that Zeka was a mid-diffing every mid laner he faced in this tournament. He took down players like Xiaohu, Knight, Scout, and now Chovy. Zeka went from a name nobody knew to the player everyone had their eyes on. DRX had made their miracle run to the finals all the way from plans, which has never been done before. Would Zeka and DRX manage to close it out? Could they complete the Cinderella story and win finals? Well, in order to know that, let's find out who they're facing. DRX's opponent was none other than T1. This meant that Zeka's final obstacle to achieving greatness was the greatest of all time, Faker. T1 and Faker had had a surprising glow up in the elimination bracket with a swift 3-0 against RNG and a quick 3-1 against JDG. They were looking unstoppable. If DRX and Zeka wanted this title, they'd have to pull out all the stops. Zeka, however, was not feeling the pressure at all. In fact, he was confident going into this series. He felt like he could bring it home for his team. To Zeka, a god may be nothing to him, and neither was the GOAT. However, only time would tell if Zeka could match his words. On the day of the final, a lot of the sentiment was that T1 would swiftly 3-0 DRX, and that DRX truly needed a miracle to win Worlds. And although DRX had some good looks in games 1 through 3, it wasn't looking great for them.
Rounds means no attempt at a smite steal.
One will find the fight and find the win in game 1. Baron at 4,000. Zeka ready to use the stolen ulti. He throws Owner away. The Baron is stolen by Owner in a hero riding back. The Baron still at 3,000 HP. Definitely gonna go. Oh, no! They gotta go for. They're looking for the access. They'll take it down. And T1 are unmatched.
At this point, DRX was 1-2. Their backs were once again up against the wall, and greatness was so close. But in order to reach greatness, they'd really have to pull out all of the stops. But if you've been watching this far, you may have an idea of how DRX and Zeka play when their backs are up against the wall.
Team fight here in the bottom lane. They're going in. They found a lot of damage, but they won't find the kill just yet. Now Gumayushi's going to be popped. And Barrel is not traded back. Zeka taking some damage. Faker trying to go in and find his way through the smoke. Now he's going to run. He's trying to get out, but Twisted Advance will find him. And DRX will win across the rift. Faker is nearly down. Hostile takeover over the wall. Wish from Soraka will heal the mid laner, but Maokai says no. DRX ready to fight back again as Zeus is going to be shuffled away. T1 tries to find the fight. They're finally going to kill Death, but Kingan's still ready to fight over the side. Zeka getting chased. Barrel trying to protect. A beautiful handshake from Renata as Carrier falls. T1 2v3. Barrel may be the target, but Gumayushi is locked down. Gumayushi is executed by the sword of Kingan, and Owner is the only man standing
Here, they've still got 2 cannon minions. Zeka chasing off Zeus, and Barrel comes to join.
Zeus is low. He's trying to get himself away. The turret's still barely standing. Carrier now going to be your target. Kingan chasing him away. Gumayushi goes in. It won't matter. They're done. That's it. DRX are taking us to game 5. Get away. They're finding more damage as Owner's going to Gumayushi now. Zeus wants to play against Kingan. The ball keeps him alive. And DRX is winning the fight. DRX was still ready. Faker dies. Zeka goes in. And Carrier will die. 2-4 for nothing. DRX.
Didn't find a response. Kuma, can he steal it?
Kuma will not find He's trying to sort of away. Owner going in. Owner is
억제이면 못 맞아. 아야, 나 뒤에 충분하니까 해봐. 오케이. 얘 뒤로 가. 나머지 별로 안 좋아. 별로 안 좋아. 높을. 야야,
That was it. DRX went from a team that everybody discounted to a team that would forever be etched into the annals of League of Legends history. Zeka especially left his mark. Throughout this documentary, we've seen Zeka getting stomped by mids like Rookie, Doinby, and Crying to mid-gapping some of the greatest mid laners League has ever seen, like Scout, Xiaohu, Knight, Chovy, and Faker. DRX and Zeka's story is one of never giving up. Whenever your back is against the wall, that's when you fight harder. No matter what the masses say about you, or if the problem you're facing is better than you are. You should fight like you deserve to succeed. And while Zeka's future is currently unknown, one thing we know is that he will go down as one of the greatest rookies that League has ever seen.